and then we have a conversation. Okay.
All right. Are you speaking, or is anybody speaking? Because your mic is off.
Hello. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning to everyone here. I am Muhammad Abeze, student of BS6A morning and the founder of seminar in Economic Society. And I'll be the host of today's seminar. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all here in this literary seminar jointly organized by Literary Society and Seminar Economic Society of the Shah. Firstly, I'd like to extend my heartfelt appreciation and admiration to the moderator of the event, Ms. Salya Razak. Ms. Salya Razak is a lecturer in English at Peshawar. Her research domain is memory studies, film studies, and Kashmiri Anglophonic literature. On the behalf of organizing societies, I extend a warm welcome to our honorable guest speaker, Dr. Rabia Ahmed, our esteemed teachers, and dear students. Thank you so much for joining us today. To begin this meaningful session with the blessings of Allah Almighty, I would now request a few verses of Holy Quran be played.
In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful. Say, He is Allah, who is one. Allah, the eternal refuge. He neither begets nor is born. Nor is there to him any equivalent.
Today, as we gather here to reflect upon the aesthetics and politics of Kashmiri Anglophonic literature, the seminar invites us to share insights on how art and resistance intertwine within the landscape of literary literature of Kashmir. Kashmiri writers who choose to write in English carry the burden of constantly pain and loss into the global language. On that, what connects and distances from home. Through their words, the haunting radio of Kashmir becomes the symbol of longing and resilience, turning literature into both aesthetic expression and a political struggle. As we gather here in Navan, we are not only celebrating, but also acknowledging the power of literature to transform, resist, and bear witness to the sufferings of the people and the mourners. It's now time to hear from someone whose expertise and passion for literature has given depth to today's talk. We have with us our distinguished scholar and speaker, Dr. Rabia Ahmed. Dr. Rabia Amir is an assistant professor of English at the Faculty of Arts and Humanities, Namar Islamabad, with 2 postdoctorates from the Center of Social Studies, University of Coimbra, Portugal, and from the SIGA, Istanbul Sabahattin University, 2025. And from the PhD, and she is the former awardee of the PhD Research Fellowship in the Department of English in Comparative Literature, William University, New York, USA, 2018 and 19. Her research domains include American Native, American literature, post 9/11 Pakistani fiction, modern Middle Eastern and Kashmiri literature, visual lengthy narratives, film studies, Black narratives, and environmental ethics. Her book, Environmental Ethics, Black Narratives from Kashmir and Palestine, 2023, published by Wainwright. It is an epistemological tradition of debates on environmental humanities and deep reality. We would now request Dr. Dami Ahmed to enlighten us on the subject. Please.
We gather today to discuss the aesthetics and politics of Kashmiri Anglophonic literature. I warmly welcome our esteemed guest, Dr. Rabia Amir. Dr. Rabia Amir, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Rabia Amir, am I audible? Dr. Rabia Amir, am I audible? Maybe your mic is muted because we can't. Can you please check the mic?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. My mic was off. Thank you so much for inviting me for this seminar, and I'm honored to be talking with you all. So, yes.
Dr. Rabia, I'd like to begin with foregrounding and also reality that is crucial to the history of Kashmir, which is the territory of desire. Could you please discuss the Treaty of Accession with respect to the dimensions of myth, reality, and literary imaginings in the context of Kashmir?
All right. I hope this goes well, because since there's a distortion in the reception itself, and can you just repeat what you just said in the last part?
Okay. Could you please discuss the Treaty of Accession with respect to the dimensions of myth, reality, and literary imaginings in the context of Kashmir?
All right. So basically, what I have addressed in my book also, and my recent research, is that I'm trying to re-articulate, this is just an endeavor to re-articulate silenced and marginalized histories. And basically, I'm trying to write, and I'm trying to talk about the fractured histories. And in my book also, and in my later works also, because they are kind of an episteme of the bruised and buried narratives that problematize the normative narratives for Kashmir, as well as in my book, I had talked about Palestine, but I would definitely, in this session, I would be focusing on Kashmir. So, my argument so far has been, and that Kashmir has been denied possibility of peace, although it exists, but it has been denied. And therefore, we find a kind of an environmental ethnocide. And looking at the historiography from the perspective of deceptions and interpellations, many historians, many authors, many critics, they offer a kind of an interruption to the continued vilification, rejection, and exclusion of the voices of Kashmir, for the plight Kashmiris. So first of all, please let me know whatever I'm speaking. Am I audible? Clearly audible?
Yes, ma'am, you're audible and very
Yes?
clear.
All right, all right, all
Yes,
right.
ma'am, you're
So
audible.
all right. So if you can just switch off the mic and talk when because then there's a constant disruption as I can see. All right. So okay. Okay, let's carry on. So, as far as this whole fiasco of the story of accession is actually, as Professor Santos would say, and I would quote him, that those who do not want to remember and those who cannot afford to forget. So it's a debacle between these two forces. So I'm going to just try to give it in a story form. And therefore, for the benefit of the students, I would say that let's talk about some of the main characters of the story. So first of all, we have VP Menon, who was an Indian civil servant and who served as Secretary of the Government of India in the Ministry of States under the Sardar Patel, another character, to integrate the 562 princely states. Then we have the character of MC Mahajan, the first Prime Minister of Kashmir, who became Prime Minister in October 1947. Then Nehru, Gandhi, Lord Mountbatten. And in historians, we have many remarkable historians, and I'm not talking about historians from our part of the world, that is Pakistan or mostly India. I'm talking about independent historians like Alistair Lamb, Victoria Schofield, William Baker, Rakesh Ankeet, although he's an Indian, Joseph Corbell, and most importantly, with some sources which are not yet available in Pakistan even, are the British Foreign Office Indian Independence Partition sources. If you just Google them, you may not be able to find them here, but I was able to find them when I was abroad, and they were accessible. And I only downloaded and have with me only the Kashmir chapter in that Indian Independence Partition sources, British Foreign Office, so Indian Independence Partition sources. So, and we have many political scientists like Sumantra Bose that would be coming in this story. But I'm just going to quickly dismantle some of the myths first. The first myth that is being concocted and which is being hyped about is the Gilgit-Baltistan. Whenever you talk about Kashmir, India tries to drag in Gilgit-Baltistan, but we need to understand the historical understanding about Gilgit-Baltistan. Because Gilgit-Baltistan, and this sentence is so, on my tongue all the time, and it is a quote from Alistair Lamb's book, that Gilgit-Baltistan threw off all kinds of Dogra rule and declared for Pakistan. And Alistair Lamb tells us very categorically that Gilgit region was never succumbed to the Dogra power, and resultantly Dogras were never able to establish the kind of power they enjoyed in the Vale of Kashmir or even Ladakh. So these historians, they contest this kind of tendency to treat the whole state as if it was a homogeneous unit. It was not. And they tell us that no long historical tradition of the existence of Kashmir as the term is now understood. So first of all, it needs to be put aside as a myth, and it comes to light, and we understand that since Gilgit independently declared for Pakistan long before Kashmir became a dispute, there can be and are serious reservations for any modern, discourses that are being concocted and that are being hyped about. Now, this was actually a multi-pronged, ruse, you can say, this whole accession of Kashmir, and which the document was called, let me tell you, Instrument of Accession. from now onwards, like if I talk about instrumental accession, we are talking about that paper, that alleged paper, which was signed by Hari Singh, the Maharaja of Kashmir, to accede to India. When did it happen, if at all it did happen? So, I'm quoting from the sources, and I have in my book, I have quoted from the sources, of independent historians and these. So there, from example, like when I say it is a multi-pronged thing, it means that, for example, Lord Etchelneck, he's talking, immediately after this independence gets in, independence of Pakistan and India. He writes a secret letter to London authorities, to his superiors in London. And he writes, and I quote, "I have no hesitation," he says, "whatever in affirming the present day Indian cabinet are implacably determined to do all in their power to prevent the establishment of the dominion of Pakistan on a firm basis." Okay? In this, I'm supported by the unanimous opinion of my senior officers and indeed by all responsible British officers cognizant of the situation, unquote. Right? So that's one angle of this ruse that we are going to engage with, and that we are going to confront. Then, on the other hand, we have MC Mahajan. Remember, he was the first prime minister who was made the first prime minister in 27th October 1947. But before that, MC Mahajan, in late September, and again, I'm trying to quote it from my book also, in late September, after he had been offered the prime ministership of Kashmir, he had discussions in New Delhi with Patel, Baldev Singh, Nehru, and they were, all, asking him to have the Maharaja, to get the Maharaja of Kashmir accede to India. Mahajan, he reports, and this is on 11th October. Now, this date is very important because I will come to that in a while. The day after he had formally become the prime minister, 11th October, he became the prime minister. So V.P. Menon advised him to bring about Kashmir's accession to India if he possibly could. On the same day, Lord Mountbatten, on the one hand, Lord Mountbatten had had made Qaid-e-Azam as well as Hari Singh sign a standstill agreement that he asked Hari Singh not to do anything unless and until the things become clearer. Do not go on any side, either India or Pakistan, right? So Qaid-e-Azam had signed, and he was of course a principled person. He would not. But on the other hand, Lord Mountbatten, in an underhand way, he says he thought that probably the Kashmir would in fact still go to Pakistan yet, and he said to the Governor General of India that he would be very happy if Mahajan advised the Maharaja to accede to India. So can you see the deceptions that are, they're layers of deception. And Mahajan's account makes it clear that both the tribal invasion, remember that tribal invasion, Pashtun invasion that we are so much aware of in Pakistan. We are so that Pashtuns, they attacked, and that's why this whole Kashmir issue became an issue. No, that was not there. That happened on 22nd of October, later than what is happening now, right? So before the tribal invasion, negotiations at a high level were in progress in Kashmir and Kashmir's accession to India. Now, again, and this Menon is called a masterly confuser of issues by Alistair Lamb. Even Schofield, Victoria Schofield, another historian, she writes that these patrons caused the armed insurgencies in the Poonch sector with unofficial aid from the Northwest Frontier Province when the massacre. Now, what was the reason? What was this? The reason you should know, and we should know in our hearts and understandings, that what was the reason why this Pashtun, paraded into this, why they went into Kashmir. That's that they invaded Kashmir and they attacked Kashmir and things like that. So what does she write? She says that when the massacred bodies of Muslims from Jammu and Kashmir were paraded in the streets of Peshawar, only then this, an irregular army or irregular people of some thousands, they went into Kashmir. And while this is much hyped Pashtun retaliation, this did not start till 22nd of October 1947. So coming to the accession story, and I'm going to read, ma'am, if you allow, Ma'am Salvia, if you allow me, I'm going to read this accession story from, and that would serve as an excerpt from my book also. So. Sorry? I am unable to hear you.
It's available in the library.
Tell me, should I go ahead or not?
Students already have a copy of your book. Yes, please. Thank you. Wait. Please read this out from your book.
All right, all right. So now I have given you the baseline understanding that this was a fake document. And now, with the help of my excerpts from the book, I will establish that this was a fake document. It could never be produced, and this instrument of accession was not the right, narrative that we have been listening to and we have been growing up with. So he foregrounds, one of the historians, he foregrounds some historical amnesias. And in the chapter entitled Lamb, Esther Lamb, in the chapter entitled The Accession Crisis, as he calls it, he substantiates with historical evidence. Now, this is what I'm reading from my book, the stratagems of the Indian establishment, and claims that the accession papers that India had been flaunting to its credit and to this day are fake. He clearly indicates that deceptions and interpellations of Mountbatten, V.P. Menon, Nehru, Patel, and M.C. Mahajan, resulting from a pre-decided acrimony against Pakistan's stand on Kashmir, no matter how principled that may be. Lamb considers the imbrications of the mythology of Kashmir dispute, as he calls it, a direct result of this come what may stance adopted by know-all and tell-all crafters of Kashmir imbroglio. The Indian troops flying into Srinagar airfield much prior to the state's accession, and leadership of India acting in a manner verging at times of panic on 24th October 1947, interpellated. According to Lamb, that was the reason why the Poonch sector revolting factor and the later chain of events took place for Pakistan. So, quoting further, ma'am, please kindly pause me if I'm just going to quote 2 or 3 excerpts, short excerpts. In September 1995, it was reported in the press in the subcontinent that a lawsuit had been initiated in the courts of the Indian-held part of Jammu and Kashmir to oblige the state authorities to produce the original of the Maharaja's instrument of accession of October 1947. It was further reported that this document, according to the state authorities, could not be found. It was missing from the state archives. And according to Woolpott, another historian, V.P. Menon returned to Delhi from Srinagar on the morning of 26th October with no signed instrument of accession. So these historians have categorically called it fake. I continue from the book. Only after the Indian troops had started landing at the Srinagar airfield on the morning of 27th October did VP Menon and MC Mahajan set out from Delhi for Jammu and Jammu. The instrument of accession, according to Wolpert, was only signed by Maharaja Hari Singh, if it did, after Indian troops had assumed control of the Jammu and Kashmir state summer capital. And Schofield writes, and I quote, and I have written, this is the quote, again, a passage from my book. If only Lord Mountbatten had listened to Sir Corfield. Corfield had, who was actually the political advisor to the Viceroy from 1945 to 1947. And Corfield has suggested, his suggestion was quite convincing, in which he believed that if Hyderabad, the second largest of the princely states, with its Hindu majority and Muslim ruler, and Kashmir, with its Hindu ruler and Muslim majority, were left to bargain after independence, India and Pakistan might well come into some agreement. But Corfield believed the two cases balanced each other, but Mountbatten did not listen to me. This is what he's saying. Anything that I said carried no weight against the long-standing determination of Nehru to keep Kashmir in India. As for the part of Hari Singh, the Maharaja of Kashmir, Schofield quotes his son Karan Singh, who writes for his father, indecisive by nature, he merely played for time. Karan Singh, his own son, Hari Singh's son, he's saying that he played for time, and Lord Mountbatten was sent on a fishing trip in a short visit that he went to Hari Singh. So he was politically very elusive. And one very telling account that would make you understand why this accession of Kashmir and this instrument of accession was a fake document, and it could never be found, is Schofield. She points out Mountbatten's determination in demarcating by the Boundary Commission with the full understanding that this would directly impact the future of Jammu and Kashmir. What happened? She cites Lord Birdwood's conviction that India could never have fought with a war in Kashmir if the Gurdaspur district would have been rightly awarded to Pakistan. Rightly. That was supposed to come in Pakistan. In addition to the appeasement of Sikh community, other factors contributed to the detrimental leaning to favor India concerns against Pakistan, the chief among them being Gandhi's persuading Maharaja and Maharani to accede to India, on one hand, and Nehru persuaded Mountbatten to leave the Gurdaspur links in Indian hands for strategic control over the canal headworks. So, along with the assured access to the state of Jammu and Kashmir. So the inclusion of Kashmir postal system with India also. All these, stratagems, as we can call them, were political stratagems, were a kind of you can say, teamwork by all these characters that I mentioned in the beginning. And many books of impartial writers inform about many instances like de jure direct Indian military intervention in the state of Jammu and Kashmir as early as 5th May 1947. And what happened with this? With the result that when India overtly intervened in Kashmir on 27th. दुनिया को दिखाने के लिए 27th October को war है. The Maharaja of Patiala, but in fact, already the Indian military troops were deployed in Kashmir. Therefore, the Maharaja of Patiala lost no time in joining his men, some already in the field in the Jammu and Kashmir. Right? And that is why Rakesh Ankit, another historian, he says that this vague, incoherent general defense on Kashmir, Nehru's vague, incoherent, and general defense on Kashmir, it is one of the reasons why America has no knowledge about the princely states of India, right? They have abysmal knowledge. And Ashish Nandi, another critic, Indian critic, he says he cannot be more right when he considers, and I quote him at length, he says, a distorted history of our own desires lived out by others who acknowledge them. And he also says that popular Indian cinema, even when it seemed least political, is a major political statement. And that is why my latest works and the researches are focusing on the film, on the genre of film. So I hope you have got some idea that this accession of Kashmir, which is a very hyped, or which is considered as something a given, is actually not right. And in Pakistani consciousness, this should come into play. And also the same thing goes for that what do you call it? The Pathan invasion that was also a retaliation of what all was already going on by the politicians, right? So.
Dr. Rabi Ahmed, thank you so much for your unapologetic stance and for dispelling this myth that is woven so strongly around this treaty of accession, which in a way is the origin of the conflict of Kashmir. We'd like to move to the next part, and I would like you to please comment on the centrality of Kashmiri Anglophonic literature in archiving sorrow of Kashmiri community. How successful they are in archiving the sorrow of Kashmiri community and in registering resistance through diverse genres.
All right. After comparison, I have made a thorough comparison of the case of Kashmir and Palestine in my book, as you may have seen, as someone has seen it. One thing strikes out, and that is that Kashmiri Anglophonic writing, especially, it emerged very late in the day, mostly in this 21st century. Although there are, an occasional one novel I came across written in 1994, and of course Agha Shahid Ali's poetry, but that was a poetry about lamenting about the beauty of Kashmir and losing Kashmir in that manner. All right. And whereas in the 21st century, when we come to 21st century, we start with works like Iftikhar Gilani's My Days in Prison. It was written in 2005, but it is still not available in Pakistan. And I had the good luck to meet with him on one of the occasions, and I asked for his book, and he graciously lent it to me and one of my supervisees, students. He's working on it. But the point is that was the first memoir. And then the second memoir, which became very popular, was Basharat Peer. And we though it is like he's the son of an Indian civil servant, and there are some in his book, when you go deep down, when you look at other works, when you look at other writings, you find that there are some reservations, which we see in his work. Yet we can say that his book, written Curfewed Night, written in 2009 and 10, that was actually you can say the fetters of that bank were broken. And and then there is a lot of petite recettes, you can say, petite memoirs, petite stories, poetry, which come in essays, you can say. They come in many books, for example, by these anthologies. I'm sure that you must have come across that Until My Freedom Has Come, the New Intifada in Kashmir, by Sanjay Kak, of Occupation and Resistance, by Fahad Shah, who is behind bars right now. And I talked with him. I had a long interviews twice or thrice when I was in US, but now unfortunately he's behind bars, of course, for the same reason. And then Of Gardens and Graves, that is Kashmir Poetry Politics. This is a book written by Suvir Kaul, and he's a professor in Pennsylvania State University. you know, this, and then you have novels like of Mirza Wahid, Collaborator, and the Book of Gold Leaves. Then later on, you know, we have graphic novels like Malik Sajad's Mannu, A Boy from Kashmir, and it's a very telling graphic novel, and some people are working on that. Then we have The Half Mother, a novel by Shahnaz Bashir, Scattered Souls by Shahnaz Bashir, Lost in Terror is a novel by Naima Mahjoor, and Beyond Silence, Women's Stories, 2022. It's a very latest, book by Naima Mahjoor. So all these writers now in the 21st century, they are writing that. But this is my personal opinion, that Kashmiri Anglophonic writing has emerged too late in the day, as compared to Palestine. But yet they have started writing. They have started writing, and they have started recording their sadness, the marginalization that they are finding themselves in, and all these things. So I hope that.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Rabia Amir. The facts that you shared with respect to history and the literary titles that you shared, I hope, and I'm really confident that the students sitting here, they'll find research avenues based on the talk. So now I'd like to move to the question answer session, and I'd like students to ask any question if they have. Yes, students, if you have any questions, you can ask from Dr. Rabia Amir. You may use mic, please. Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I have a question. Part of Kashmir is administered by Pakistan and part of.
Dr. Rabia Amir, please confirm if the student's voice was audible.
No, it wasn't. No. So either you speak or he should come in your mic.
Who has to ask the question?
Madam, as we know that part of the Kashmir is administered by India and part is administered by Pakistan. And they claim, India claim both, and Pakistan as well claim the whole territory of Pakistan. So do you see any point of consensus in the future that will moderate the long-standing issue?
Beta, I'm not any political scientist, professor, but I'm going to just tell you what history has told us, and what the historiographic analysis has told us. See, the question itself, your question itself, it is loaded with the modern narrative which India has so pumped into our subconscious. Because when you say Pakistan administered Kashmir, yes, it is Pakistan administered Kashmir, but at the same time, you were saying Indian administered Kashmir. No, it is not Indian administered Kashmir. Let's call a spade a spade. It is Indian occupied Kashmir, because there are no, the military forces that are deployed in Indian occupied Kashmir. There is absolutely no comparison. We don't have the same dynamics here. There some days back, there was a ruse about electricity, and they were talking about, and they were trying to portray, and the Indian tabloid media, if you must have seen, they were trying to portray it as if it was something that, if things are wrong in Indian occupied Kashmir, the things are wrong in Pakistan administered Kashmir. No, Pakistan administered Kashmir is not something which can be taken in that light, which is implied, which is being the implication, or which is implied all the time, especially by the Indian tabloids. Please understand this, that Indian occupied Kashmir is occupied, this is an Azad Kashmir, and it is Azad, and it became Azad by the forces of, by their own independent, what was the name of Sardar? Forgotten the name. Who got this belt, independent from India. Sardar. I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but anyway, that was an indigenous movement which made Azad Kashmir the Azad Kashmir, right? Now, yes, they are with Pakistan and it is being administered by Kashmir, but it is not something which should be made comparable and parable with Indian occupied Kashmir. So let's call a spade, please. I think I tried to dispel these myths in the beginning.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rabia, for your response. Now we'll move to the second question, please. We have one more question after this.
Madam, as we are studying from the start, and majority of the writers are writing about the issues of Kashmir, like for example in Kashmir literature. Ma'am, do you think what we are lacking in this for the miserable condition of the people of the Kashmiris? Like for example, the writers have been writing for a long time, and we as students and majority of the other students are studying those literature. But what we are lacking in those writing that are still, we are not in that position, like we can say the people of the Kashmiris are not portrayed in a way that must have to be portrayed, or for better understanding.
Okay, thank you. The thing is, now the answer to your question, is the fact that if you remember, one character which I did not mention is Sheikh Abdullah in Kashmir, and he was a Marxist, and his leanings was towards Nehru. So the ruler, he was portrayed as a ruler of Kashmir, and as somebody who is who represented Kashmir in history. However, when he tried to go out of line, which was given by the Indian establishment in the Indian politicals, he was cut to size. He was incarcerated many times, and when he said that, okay, now I'm not going to talk about any difficult issues or anything like that, then he was released from jail, and he was a very you can say important puppet in the hands of Indian government at that point in time. Now, why have I told you this thing? The point is that the writings that you have, the independent writing, most of the writings, writers are talking about the sadness and the plight of Kashmiris. However, some of them, they do not want to set the history right. When they don't want to set the history right, the problem arises that it's just a sad demise of a realm, and without taking a stance which should be the principal stance, right? And at that point in time, Quaid-e-Azam also pointed out to Sheikh Abdullah that you're making the biggest blunder of your life by siding with Nehru instead of on this side. So that is why some of the writers, not some, rather most of the writers, they can just talk about the plight and this sensitive issue of the history is left for the writers only. Only those writers tackle this issue. For example, if Iftikhar Gilani has tackled it in issue, there is another book, Paradise on Fire. If you Google it, you'll get to know that Paradise on Fire. You can Google it and you will get to know these writers are unapologetic, and they have talked about that what is actually the matter, right? And in Indian writers, for example, as Arundhati Roy, Pankaj Mishra, when you look at their works, there you find that they have, sometimes taken the bull by the horns, but not always, right? So this is an awareness you can say journey. Many writers who are writing the way they are writing, this is an awareness journey, and inshallah it will come, right? And more, as the time passes, they are becoming more and more unapologetic. I had many sessions with one of the Indian writers. She is in Ohio, and her book, Human Toll on Kashmir, that's a book, anthropological book. And I talked with her a lot. We had a lot of discussions, lengthy discussions. Her name is Shubh Mathur. She's an Indian, a Hindu, and she has written this anthropological work, very telling. And unless and until, I would say that anybody who's trying to work on any of the writers, of about Kashmir, if when they're writing, you would not be able to get the real picture if you do not read works like Shubh Mathur's or Atar Zia and many other works that I'm sure ma'am would be talking to you about. There is a question, I think. Sardar Ibrahim Khan, thank you, Farheen, for telling me. All right, yes. I have a question. In what ways do the aesthetic and politics dimensions Kashmir and for writing offer from those found in post-colonial or conflict zone literature or other regions? Pretty much they are the same. If you talk about any other post-colonial realms like Palestine, like other post-colonial Sudan, and if you can just prompt me on that, Ma'am Selvia. Alexandria नहीं, एक और जो है, there's this book, a book and movie also, if you remember. Pretty much they're the same. The narratives, the writings. Yes.
I guess you're referring to the Aljazair?
Yeah, Algiers.
Is it Algiers?
Algiers, yes. Algiers. So pretty much they are the same. Yani post-colonial writings, post-colonial, writing back to the empire, whatever you call it, it is, there are many similarities among them. So that's it. This was a question coming from the message in the chat box, so I just answered that also. Yes, Amir, Iqbal.
Thank you very much, Dr. Rabia, for this thought-provoking talk during the session. Well, getting back to the topic of the seminar, aesthetics and politics of Kashmiri Anglophonic literature.
I'm really feeling honored.
Your voice is not coming.
To have moderated this session with you. It's our first collaboration.
Mm-hmm.
I really look for
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Salvia. Although I was unable to hear you, it was just in tidbits. Thank you for inviting me for this webinar. And I hope I was able to deliver some, yani, I don't know whether I was successful or not. Hopefully, you'll give me the feedback later on. And I'm really grateful to you for inviting me. And I'm grateful for the audience, virtual audience, as well as the live audience. And inshallah, we would be meeting soon. And thank you so much. Shall we leave? Should I finish this talk, this interaction? I think she has left, and thank you so much for the audience here. And inshallah, we would be, Amir Iqbal, we would be discussing this maybe later. Or I think wo unka session khatam ho gaya. And if it is a quick note, you may ask, and I would quickly answer that.
Yeah, thank you very much for this elaborate discussion on the second part of the topic. I was just wondering if I could know more about how Kashmiri literature stands out in terms of literary tropes it interweaves.
In terms of?
Literary tropes that it interweaves, yeah. So how it is different from rest of the literature?
Rest, from which you're, you're making a comparison from which literature?
If we compare it with Pakistani literature, to be specific.
Of course, there's no comparison. Why? Because, जब आपके दर्द को ज़बान मिलेगी, यानी आप में दर्द होगा इतना तो आप ज़बान से अदा करेंगे ना वो. So that's something that Kashmiri literature is we find that those atrocities that have been committed against them, but it's a tremendous, I would tribute them tremendously, because they have done a marvelous job. Even Basharat Pir's Curfewed Night, if you read it, it's like, it is an artistic, memoir. It tells it so artistically. Similarly, Mirza Wahid's Collaborator, it's an artistic, novel. The miseries are told in such an artistic way, and they are of course literary feat on their own. My Days in Prison by Iftikhar Gilani, if you read that, it's like, it's a telling tale. And similarly, Shahnaz Bashir's novels that I just pointed out, Scattered Souls and all, Naima Mahjoor's, and even those small little poetries that are being translated by Suvir Kaul, has translated it into his those poetry of local poets, local Kashmiri poets. He's translated and put it in his anthology, which is titled as Of Gardens and Graves. Similarly, Sanjay Kak has done the same thing. Similarly, Fahad Shah has done the same thing. So all these anthologies, which we can say, and agar hum uski, we take the term of what do you call it? जो petite recettes जो एक term है, they are the petite recettes, they are petite memoirs. So they have done a marvelous job. If you read this literature, you are definitely moved. And it has to be different from Pakistani. Of course it has to be. Pakistani literature is another game altogether. We can discuss it later, perhaps. So I hope that's all it today.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for being here, all of you. And let me just stop the recording.